This is Money Moves on VSiN, the sports betting network.
All right, we're kicking off hour 2, Money Moves, VSiN, the sports betting network, Sirius XM channel 158, alongside Jonathan Von Tobel, Stormy Bonantoni with you. Remember, if you ever miss any of the show or you missed out on hour 1 today, you can always listen to Money Moves in podcast form, wherever you get your podcasts as well. Listen on your own time. Coming up this hour, we will have VSiN's Matt Youmans join the program in about 30 minutes. We'll talk through a little college football, our college football betting guide, officially out today. You have a lot of work in there. I put a bunch of bets in there, which we will get to at the end of the hour. But Matt wrote up the Pac-12, which is like the Mountain West 2.0, and a handful of other articles as well. So excited to pick his brain on all things college football.
Apparently a clarification, the Cubs have not acquired Reed Detmers. That has been clarified. So I don't know what is going on there, but it does seem that maybe the report from Bleacher Nation was a little bit early.
Interesting.
So we'll see. But right now, multiple outlets reporting that the Cubs have not acquired Reed Detmers in a trade. And Peter Appel, who also covers it, says that it's not close. So we'll see if that eventually comes down, but it does seem like that trade is not going through.
That is a good signal. It is, of course, MLB trade deadline day. We are inching closer to that 3 Pacific, 6 Eastern deadline. Of course, the big news over the weekend, Tarek Skubal is now a Dodger. How about Los Angeles also adding Chris Bubich earlier this morning to... These guys. I mean, just buying low. Bubich was great last year. He's been injured since like May 18th. And so just go out, buy low, and see what you can get for him. So that is, again, I'm sure he'll turn into like an all-star or something like that. I mean, you're if you have a perceived weakness, if you're the Dodgers, it's the bullpen. So able to bolster that unit a little bit here too. We also saw this morning the Boston Red Sox acquiring 3-time All-Star catcher Adley Rutschman. He's on the IL right now, but not for long. So the Baltimore Orioles clearly, squarely sellers to this point. Meanwhile, the San Diego Padres buyers, they end up acquiring lefty Robbie Ray from the San Francisco Giants. Those are just a few trades that we have seen come through this morning. We'll talk more baseball coming up in the next segment, as well as look at the day's card of MLB action that could be worth diving into. But we're going to kick things off in the National Football League as our NFL training camp tour continues.
Join Stormy and JVT as they go on the Money Moves NFL training camp tour.
All right, JVT, let's get to it. Today, we are headed up to the Big Apple. The New York Jets finished 3-14 last year, last place in the division. Enter this season riding the longest active playoff drought in major North American professional sports. Geno Smith back at quarterback where it all began. A big overhaul on defense for this Jets team. 2 new coordinators as well for second-year head coach Aaron Glenn. You wrote up the AFC East for our NFL betting guide that is out now, by the way, vsin.com/subscribe if you want to join us on that full-time basis. You get unlimited access to everything we do here at the network, but you also get our guides, the college football guide out now and the NFL guide that has been out. But this is a team that, as far as the division goes, you were actually relatively high on. This was the only team you got down on a win season total over for.
Yeah, and maybe I was just being a little too positive on it, but let's just start with where you have to, which is what does Geno Smith in a Jets uniform look like once again, right? This is the second time out. And if you look at Geno Smith's most recent season, which is out here in Sin City, second highest turnover-worthy play rate since his rookie season in 2025. His 17 interceptions were the second worst mark of his career. He averaged just 6.8 yards per attempt on an average depth of target of just 6.9 yards downfield. Both also the worst numbers he has put up in his time in the National Football League. And so you're like, why in the world would you just be generally positive on Geno Smith considering the season that he just had? But it's worth pointing out a couple of things. First off, it was such a stark and sheer drop-off from his final 2 seasons in Seattle, Stormy, where you got to think, like, you got to be able to correct this, right? I mean, his 3 years in Seattle, he was great. 32-12 in terms of touchdown interception ratio. His first year, 29, 21-15. I'm not expecting him to be an MVP, but you would assume that the above average to average quarterback that played up the Pacific Northwest is somewhere in there. So then let's push up the glasses and let's do the well actually, and let's see if we can find something right in some of the numbers that maybe paints a positive picture. And the one thing that I want to hang my hat on with Geno Smith is this. Last year with the Raiders, he was under pressure on over 40% of his dropbacks, 212 of them. That's an astounding rate of pressure. The offensive line was awful, and as many quarterbacks do, he struggled when he was under pressure, completed less than 50% of his passes, threw 8 of his 17 interceptions, committed 15 of his 23 turnover-worthy plays. So then you whittle it down, you look at, all right, what else can we hang our hat on? When he was kept clean, and not that many dropbacks in comparison with the quarterback, but when he completed 75.6% of his passes. He threw 14 touchdowns, still got to cut down on the interceptions, threw 9 of them, but a turnover-worthy play rate of just 2.5% and a PFF passing grade of 79.9. Those are numbers that are on par with what Geno Smith was in Seattle. So my whole point here being is if you can just give him some time, if you can give him an offensive line that would at least give him the ability to play the position, and we'll see what Frank Reich's offense looks like, but I think that is going to be something that is going to happen here with a better offensive line than the one he played with out here in Vegas. Again, do I expect that he's going to be an MVP candidate? No. But do I expect that he could push for the benchmark that we just talked about with Deshaun Watson, which is 16th best quarterback in the NFL? I think that's certainly plausible for Geno Smith.
So we're very much so walking down the same path, because my first thought was the offensive line situation should be very different here than it was in Vegas. Yes, they're young, but very good offensive line that returns 4 of 5 starters. Mm-hmm. They should also be able to get some run support because of that with Breece Hall, who just got paid as well, dual threat guy, and you can use him on the ground or through the air as well. And like, look at all of the weapons that he has in that receiving core now, the way they've rebuilt that up. You have Garrett Wilson, A.D. Mitchell, Omar Cooper Jr., Mason Taylor. You draft Kenyon Sadiq at tight end in the first round. So I think there's a lot of reason for optimism on the offense. And then let's flip the coin and go defensively as well, which was clearly a massive issue for this team, which is unfortunate. And I think for a head coach that you have coming in who's supposed to be a defensive-minded head coach, for this unit to be as bad as they were last year, didn't have a single interception. First team to accomplish that with 16-plus games in NFL history. League worst, 36 passing touchdowns allowed. Gave up the 31st most points per game, 25th most yards per game, and we're dead last in the NFL in QBR allowed to opposing quarterbacks as well. And so I think that puts squarely more pressure on Aaron Glenn this year to rebuild that side, but they added Minkah Fitzpatrick in the back end, right? And T'Vondre Sweat, I think, was a massive trade for them to ultimately get David Bailey in the draft. You sign another defensive tackle and Demario Davis at linebacker, Nahshon Wright in free agency. I think they did a lot of things to acquire talent. Now can Aaron Glenn get it right? Yeah,
that's the thing, right? It's just, it can't be worse. I think that's quite literally
that.
It was again, we did that burning questions format, and my burning question was just, hey, the defense is going to be better, right? And my response was, it cannot be worse. It quite literally in no sense can be worse. So I can almost guarantee that this defense is going to be better, because it cannot be worse than it was a season ago. Right. Dead last and historically awful. So they're going to be better. And I can understand, because I think the narrative around a team like the Jets almost seeps into the way that we talk about and analyze certain things, and for good reason to an extent. But, Aaron Glenn, I think, was just thrown on the trash heap. It's just like, this guy's a bum. This is going to be terrible. Look, he did not make great decisions, and I think he can improve as a head coach. I think he would probably tell you that. But I also know that Aaron Glenn is a pretty good defensive mind and should be able to get this team back up. Again, creep back toward average. I don't think you're going to get to the middle of the pack, but can you get to 22nd? Can you get, in terms of basic metrics like EPA per play, scoring, things like that? Can you be in that nexus of teams? And I think you can with all of the additions that you've talked about. You mentioned the big piece, which is, can David Bailey be just that, who you took second overall on the edge? I think that would be a pretty big deal if you can all of a sudden get a young, dominant edge rusher that's going to help really bring your defense forward here. So, and remember too, just for the team itself to kind of build on this is a pretty big influx of talent. Through the 18th pick in the second round, you had 4 selections in this most previous draft. So you got a lot of young talent that you're adding on here. 2 of the pieces are on defense, and then D'Angelo Pons, who they drafted out of Indiana. So I'm expecting that this team is going to be better. If Geno Smith gets some time, they should be at least a competent NFL team this season, which is why, to your point, you talked about of the 3 teams and the win totals, it's why I landed on an over with the Jets. I think that they're a team that is going to be just better. And if they're just going to be better, then you're talking about a group with remember, they have the 4th easiest schedule in the NFL by opponent projected win total. And these are some things that should get them to, at the very least, push for that 6-win mark this season. So we'll see if that's the case, but I do think they can get it. Look, they can start the season 1-0. I know we like the Titans, but that is a coin flip type spot that you can pull a victory out in if you're a team like the New York Jets. And we should also note, because this is my other third burning question, this will help them here. I always bring this up, calling wins at the margins. This is a team that can add wins in the margins. this was a historic special teams in a very good way. By DVOA standards, they were first in the NFL. They were well ahead of the Seattle Seahawks by a really decent margin. They led the league in field goal percentage, average kickoff return distance, made all of their extra point attempts, and were tied in the league lead in special teams touchdowns with 3 of them. Chris Banger's coming back as their special teams coordinator as well. Will they, again, similar to their defense, will they be historically great again? Probably not. But will they be a competent and good special teams units that can get you just that little extra in a lot of these different spots? I would say yes, which is why I landed on the over.
Yeah, those things matter. It's all 3 phases. The over is juiced up to -120 right now over on DraftKings on that 5.5.
Wow.
If you think maybe they can get that little something extra and hit 7 wins and you can get to that threshold, +160 on the over 6.5.
By the way, they're also really praying that Geno Smith is exactly what I am saying that they are. Their quarterback depth chart is Brady Cook, Bailey Zappi, and Cade Klubnik. So it's not great behind Geno Smith. So
Remember
I will say that.
expectations once upon a time for Cade Klubnik?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, a while ago, and now, I mean, look, there's many realities for a lot of these teams. If you told me they won 6 or 7 games, I wouldn't be surprised. If you told me you cashed fewest wins at +850, I wouldn't be surprised either.
Tomorrow we will keep the NFL training camp tour rolling, but we're going to stay at MetLife, headed to the New York Giants tomorrow.
I thought we were going to make the trip to LA actually after this.
Yeah, the cross country and back, really rack up the miles. Worth noting though, as we've said, a number of times here, the NFL betting guide is out now, but there's so much good information out there right now. Our college football betting guide officially out today, but you only get access to the guides if you're a full-time VSiN Pro subscriber. VSIN.com/subscribe is how you can sign up, join us on the full-time basis, or learn more about what we do. But I know you want unlimited access to the articles, access to the picks page, the betting splits, all of it over at VSiN.com/subscribe. We'll be right back on Money Moves.
Hey, let me get your attention real quick, podcast listeners. I've got something for you that feels too good to be true. First, credit where credit is due. If you're listening to this podcast, you're already leveling up your betting game. You're riding along with our best bets and top angles. And when there's a good game on, you're probably getting involved with a few props and alt markets as well. But there's one more layer if you really want to step things up, and that's VSiN Pro. Yeah, I've mentioned it before, but things are only getting better for our pro subscribers. We just rolled out our MLB prop projections, breaking down some of the best edges across strikeouts, hits, home runs, and more. And that's on top of everything else pro subscribers already get, including public betting splits, expert picks, and betting guides across the sports calendar. If you haven't tried it yet, stop sleeping on it. You can get your first month for just $9.99 or save big with promo code POD26 on an annual subscription. Hit the link in the description and start cashing in with VSiN Pro. All right, now back to the show.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Football season is just around the corner and the sharp money is already moving. Here's how. The Sharp Plays sees it first. Exclusive data feeds from 4 major sportsbooks, thousands of sharp bettors and professional syndicates tracked in real time before the market moves. All of it filtered and sorted by version 6.0 of their AI model as well. That's the machine. Now the receipts. Every play logged, every result public, records dating back to 2011 with live logs since 2021. It all feeds a live performance terminal. You can check out anytime, no login, no paywall. Nobody else in the country runs one because most records couldn't survive it. The Sharp Plays record gets audited daily by their own haters. No steam chasing, no stale trends, no recycled plays. Follow the Sharp Money over at sharpplays.com today. Again, that's sharpplays.com. Stormy Buonantony, Jonathan Von Tobel with you back here on Money Moves. It is MLB trade deadline day. We're just a couple hours away officially from that 3 Pacific, 6 Eastern deadline. A handful of games that are set to take place today as well with teams that are buying and selling. Anything new come over in the last few minutes, last little bit?
Yep. Pittsburgh Pirates going and acquiring, it looks like, Luke Weaver from the New York Mets. Weaver's been awesome out of the bullpen for the Mets. He's made 42 appearances. 1 save, 44 innings, but has been nearly untouchable, 1.84 ERA in that time. So Pirates bullpen needs a little bit of help, and the Pirates have decided to go and get that help in the form of Luke Weaver. So you like it. I mean, this is, as I have said 1,000 times over, you like teams that are on the fringe of these races actually going and buying. And the Pirates, 3.5 games out, at least doing a little bit of something to see if they can make this push. And one would assume one piece off the board in front of them, the Marlins are ahead of them. But the Marlins, of course, as we know, went and dealt Liam Hicks to the Tampa Bay Rays. So it looks like Miami is more than willing to fall off to the wayside and allow teams like the Pirates to potentially benefit from that. So we'll see if this matters to them. And this is one of those moves, too, where you're not going to see Luke Weaver get acquired and go, let me get in on this Pittsburgh Pirates team and buy a future. But it is a piece that could make a difference for him, and I think you do like it.
Well, speaking of the Pirates, they are in action today in Milwaukee, taking on the Brewers.
What a segue.
The Brew Crew, obviously losers, unfortunately, of the Tarek Skubal sweepstakes, which, what was the phrase that you used about Milwaukee needing to get in on Skubal?
Oh, it'd be an abject failure if they didn't. Yeah.
The abject failure of a Milwaukee Brewers team
Correct.
in action at home today. This is game one of a 4-game set against the Pirates in what kicks off a 7-day, 7-game homestand. Important divisional series. Pittsburgh, actually, despite the success Milwaukee has had this season, Pittsburgh has taken 5 of 6 against the Brew Crew this season, which included a 3-game sweep just before the All-Star break. They've been in a little bit of a tailspin, though, the last week or so. 3-8 their last 11 games. How do you see this one today? Bubba Chandler and Brandon Sproat head-to-head.
Weak matchup in terms of names. 2 weak named individuals, I would say. Brandon Sproat, 5.05 ERA, 4.94 expected, and 5.19 fielding independent. The last time we saw him was on the road against San Francisco. Gave him 6 innings, 3 earned runs, got taken deep 1, struck out 5, walked 3. What matters here is the fact that he's starting in Milwaukee. He's been terrible at home so far this season. 40 2/3 innings pitched and a 5.98 ERA with a 5.51 fielding independent. But despite that, because the Brewers are a good team, even though he's got an ERA of nearly 6 in his home starts this season, Stormy, Milwaukee's still 5-4 in those 9 starts. They pulled out a winning victory, or excuse me, they pulled out a winning record in those. Average total runs scored only about 8 per game, so hasn't really been a high-scoring affair when he's been out there. But it's just worth pointing out that Sproat, has not been pitching well. Didn't really have much on this one. Chandler, he's pitched less than 5 innings in 3 of his last 4 starts. We saw him give him a 3 at home against Arizona. Overnight price had this at minus 151. We're still in that range. Seems to be a relatively accurately priced contest between these two.
Yeah, I lean Brewers in a bounce back, but you don't want to lay minus 150. And even at the plus 140 price on the run line, do you really want to lay a run line with all of the metrics that you just listed for Sproat? One thing I will say, though, Milwaukee has had a ton of success at home at large this season, 36-20 at home. They've covered the run line in 28 of those 36 home wins. So when they do win at home, they tend to win by margin. So if that was a way that you wanted to look, I wouldn't fault you on it too much. Any other game? I know there's a handful today that we can get into, but any that you had a strong opinion on that you want to hit next?
Yeah, I think an interesting overall theme of today is there's a lot of guys with some dramatic home road splits. By the way, I know that you were really big on him. We should note that the Mets are receiving Class A shortstop Sammy Stafura in that deal for Luke Weaver.
Yeah,
I know you've talked a lot about what his potential game could be as a prospect. All right, let's go to a couple of spots here. First off, how are you not going to lead with what is now a heavyweight series
between the Padres and Diamondbacks?
D-backs have been hot, and the Padres are buyers, and they're pushing for this. And these are two teams directly competing for one another for a wild card spot here. Saw this open up pick. We're now seeing the market shift toward the Arizona Diamondbacks. But how about Brendan Pfaadt? Last start at Pittsburgh, 7 innings pitched, 6 hits, 0 earned runs, and 4 strikeouts. You're wondering, all right, well, Pfaadt's got a 4 flat ERA. What does that really mean? Well, he's been untouchable since getting back into the starting rotation. Last 6 appearances for Pfaadt, 34 innings pitched, storming a 1.85 ERA, 2.72 expected. He has been great. 2.86 fielding independent. My man has been pitching so well. And against Michael King, last start, home versus Colorado, average start, 4 earned runs, got taken deep twice in 6 innings. The start snaps a run of 4 starts in which King had allowed 2 earned runs or fewer. The previous 4, prior to that one against Colorado that I mentioned, 1.96 ERA, 3.72 FIP. Could you make the argument here in a big contest between 2 dudes that have been pitching in a larger sample size relatively well that this maybe is a game that could go under the total today between 2 division rivals competing for a playoff spot? Saw this open up 8, though. It's up to 9 with a total with the shaded to the under at minus 114. Still lean under at that 9 mark between these two, or maybe a first 5 under.
Yeah, your point on Michael King, as I know that start against Colorado wasn't great, but he had been playing really well prior to that. And this Padres team in general, we mentioned it earlier when we had Chris Jimenez on the program. Yep. Yes, I know they have struggled mightily down the stretch, but they've turned it around the last week or so. And here's my issue with them is I'm trying to figure out what to make given the opponents that they have faced on this run. Like they had got to have it wins, but it's against the Marlins, the Rockies, and the Giants. So it's hard for me to fully know what we're getting at this point, but maybe that's what you need kind of just to kickstart this second half.
Yeah, you deserve credit for beating the team that you should, right?
Sure.
And at least you haven't struggled against them. So I think that's something worth noting for San Diego. But you going to bet your boys today or what?
No, I'm not going to play
Come
it.
on now, don't be
I'm
a
not going to
coward.
play it. Well, let's talk about the Dodgers. Obviously, they've been kind of the big news, big money team, and they've got Robleski on the hill today, who's another one of those great starters they've had this year. Minus 126 road favorites taking on the Cubs, who have Matthew Boyd going. Run total sitting 8.
Yep, coming off of that Sunday night game against the Boston Red Sox. A fun, wild game. They end up losing that one. They've lost 3 straight and, of course, bust out the brooms for the Red Sox as they sweep the Dodgers. So bad spot. We talked about this with Mike before, traveling off of this now to have to go to Chicago, where the Cubs injected with life after acquiring some pitching and some help. We know the Dodgers, but it doesn't really mean anything for that team. They've been talking about this for a while in terms of getting Skubal. Robleski getting the start. 2.88 ERA, 4.32 expected. Last start, 6 innings pitched, and got bombed out by Seattle. That was that start where I was talking smack about the Mariners, and they went out there and knocked around Robleski and the Dodgers. But he's pitched at least 6 innings in 6 straight starts, 8 of his last 9. Do we continue to kind of chase this regression monster, which finally reared its ugly head in his last start? 10th percentile in terms of whiff rate at 19.9% for Robleski, 8.3 barrel rate, 43% hard hit rate, and he's been getting lucky. 252 on batting average and balls in play. Classic pitch to contact guy that maybe you're going to get burned. And then you get Boyd. Last start on the road against St. Louis, 5 strikeouts, 2 walks, no earned runs over the course of 7. He's pitched 7 innings in back-to-back starts, St. Louis and Pittsburgh, both on the road. So to your point about competition, Boyd's been pitching well against really solid competition, we'll call it, in the mix of a wild card race. But Boyd's got some dramatic home road splits, and going back to the theme here of what we've talked about. At home, 31 innings pitched and a 4.35 ERA compared to a 2.57 away from home. Chicago is 5-1 in his 6 starts. They won last 5 starts at Wrigley, though. Here's what the interesting nugget about Boyd. He's got this ERA that is nearly sitting at 5. Average total runs scored in Matthew Boyd home starts for the Cubs, 11.2. These things have been high scoring. And you get another pitcher on the other side that's got some regression. Total sitting at 8, shaded to the over ever so slightly. So we'll see if that matters. But interesting pitching matchup nonetheless between these two.
Last 90 seconds. Anything else you want to hit?
Yes, let's go to the American League just because I think many others are fascinated here. The Houston Astros. We've got a win total under on the Houston Astros. They have won 6 straight. They sweep my Rangers over the weekend, and they now lead the American League West by 2.5 games. And then you get Shane Bieber to oppose you here today. I don't know if you saw this. Bieber, in his last start, did not make it out of the first inning, Stormy, and he walked not 3, not 4, not 5, but 6 batters in 2/3 of an inning before he got yanked. He's coming off of a massive injury. You know, there was a lot of analysis around, like, look, as a pitcher, when you're coming off a big injury, one of the last things to come back is that command, and he has had such a problem with it. Just 40% of his pitches are in the zone so far this season. And then you get Javier on the other side, and on the surface, you look at it, you go, a 7.17 ERA for Javier. Maybe the Blue Jays can kind of knock him around. Not so fast, my friends. Most of the damage to Javier's ERA done in the first 2 starts of the year. Since returning on July 4th, 4 appearances, 1 of them a start, 3 ERA, and a 4.25 expected. He's pitched much better. He struck out about 1/3 of the batters he has faced up to this point. Pretty strong case to be made that there is a minus 125, minus 126 out there on the Astros, that might be worth looking at, especially against Bieber.
Feels appropriate, the quoted Lee Corso, when coming up after the break, we're getting back into college football. VSiN's own Matt Youmans is going to join us when we return, talk a little Pac-12 football, some big picture, and as well as some of the articles that he wrote up for our college football betting guide. Stick around. So much more to come next on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Tony Jonathan Von Tobel with you back here on Money Moves. It's a big college football day here at the network with our VSiN college football betting guide officially out. Several pieces and best bets in the guide from our next guest, VSiN's own Matt Youmans, joining us here on the Progressive Guest Line, back from vacation. You can catch him hosting tonight, VSiN primetime, 4 to 8 Pacific, 7 to 11 Eastern, alongside Tim Murray. And Matt, actually, I do want to start here with Tim back as well. I know it's MLB trade deadline day. There's a lot of news coming out of NFL training camps, but How soon in the show do we think we're going to get the mention of Notre Dame and USC renewing the rivalry today?
By the way, breaking news here, the Dodgers just traded for Aaron Judge. Did you see that? No.
Something tells me that didn't happen.
No. You know what? The Notre Dame USC thing is, I don't think it's big news. I know they're going to play in a few years. They obviously should continue that rivalry. But as far as the college football guide at VSiN, Notre Dame is our number one team going into the season. And there was a little bit of a difference of opinion on that. Paul Stone had Ohio State 1. I had Notre Dame 1. I think Ohio State's being a bit overrated. I think it's a lot based on reputation. They lost a ton of talent off that defense. And I know the Buckeyes reload. They don't rebuild. But I've got Notre Dame number 1. I know there are a lot of Irish haters out there who don't like to hear that. But I don't care. That's how I power rate it going into the season. And I think Notre Dame's got a great chance to run that table 12-0 and be in the top seed into the playoff.
What was Paul's logic for Notre Dame, Matt? Because I think it would surprise some people that he had them 3 when you look at the guide.
Yeah, Paul actually made a comment, I think, in the guide that he said if someone wanted to make a case for Notre Dame being number 1, he would not argue. So I think the thing is, when you power rate the top 6 teams, it's a very thin line that separates those teams. I mean, my ratings on those top 6 teams are within basically 2 or 3 points of each other. I've got in our guide, I'll say the combined top 50 with Paul Stone and myself. Notre Dame 1, Oregon 2, Ohio State 3, Georgia 4, Texas 5, Indiana 6, Miami 7. There's not much that separates those top 7 teams in reality.
Yeah, and we were with you, our Money Moves preseason top 25 that we unveiled. We had Notre Dame 1 as well. When you look at the odds board today over at DraftKings, Ohio State 6-1, Notre Dame plus 650, Texas plus 750, before you get to Indiana and Oregon 8-1. Now, I want to talk about the write-up that you did on the Pac-12 for the college football betting guide. And before we get into some of the teams, for those of us that are betting season win totals, can you explain a little bit of this flex game situation for week 13 and what people need to know about it?
Well, what you need to know, if you're going to bet the win total and you're playing an over in the Pac-12, make sure you're betting the win total over on the 12-game schedule. And Circa offers 12 games on the lines. DraftKings offering 11. So one of the best bets I made here, Fresno State over 6.5. You got to bet that at Circa. It was initially 6.5 over minus 110. That's on the 12-game line. DraftKings had 6.5 over minus 120 on the 11-game line, which obviously is a far worse bet if you're going to play that over. But there's a flex game at the end of the schedule. Not all the 12 games in terms of the opponents are completely set. The Pac-12 is going to flex that to set up the best possible scenarios in the final week. I think there are a few set, like Fresno State, San Diego State, I believe is going to be a fixed game on that 12th game. But it's kind of unique scheduling. I actually kind of like what the Pac-12 is doing with that. Having that flex 12th game where you could change a couple of matchups late in the season. But that's definitely something you got to keep in mind if you're betting win totals in that conference. If you're playing the under, you can look for the 11-game lines. If you're playing overs, you got to look for the 12-game lines.
All right, let's talk about some of these teams in this conference. And I know you're high on one. Mm-hmm. Fresno State's got a pretty good core here, and I think you expect pretty good things from them this year.
Matt Entz, the coach of the Bulldogs, was in studio with us last year, and I was very impressed by him. And obviously, he's got a great background. 60-11 when he was at North Dakota State, won 2 FCS national championships. If you're betting on a team to overachieve or go over a win total, you got to love the coach, and in this case, I really do. Fresno 9-4 last season. Entz took over a team that was off a losing season, and he had a team last season that was really limited by mediocre quarterback play. E.J. Warner, son of Kurt, was the quarterback last year, and he was far from a superstar, that's for sure. Maryland transfer Christian Martin looks like he's a dual threat guy. He's going to be the quarterback. 4 of the top 5 pass catchers are back for Fresno. 3 of the top offensive linemen in the league in the Pac-12 are on Fresno's offensive line, and they probably have the best running back duo in the conference as well. I like everything about this team across the board. Very solid defensively, strong on the offensive and defensive lines, and you got a coach with a proven track record. So Fresno over 6.5. And also, I think everybody just automatically puts Boise at the top of the Pac-12, and I understand that. But don't forget that last year, Fresno hosted last year, Fresno was a 17-point underdog and beat Boise 30-7. This Fresno team's legit, and it wouldn't surprise me if Fresno wins this conference. Now, I think you still power rate Boise number one going into it. Maddox Madsen was a little bit disappointing at quarterback last year, but it wouldn't surprise me if Fresno did win this league. And Stormy, I hate to say it, but I think San Diego State's going to slip a little bit this year.
Ah, come on. I thought after the 9-4 year, another stepping stone under Sean Lewis, they could take another step. That hurts my heart a little bit, Matt.
They were frauds last year.
Okay, don't need that from you. Don't need the gallery. Fresno State, a 6-1 shot, by the way, though, in the Pac-12. And I'm glad you brought that up about Boise State because there's no auto bid, obviously, for the Pac-12 when it comes to the college football playoff this year, but there is still going to be a group of 6 team that ultimately gets in. Looking at your top 50 rankings, Boise State was the shortest among them in your rankings at 36 overall. But who else do you think could really contend for that final spot in the CFP?
I looked at that. I really don't have a play on that right now. You got to really analyze the schedules when you're looking at who's got the best chance to put together that record. I don't think it's going to be James Madison, a team like that. I'm not in love with this Boise team. And, if you look at the Mountain West as a team like New Mexico, possibly a candidate for that. I don't know. Jason, actually, I like Eck, the coach in New Mexico, quite a bit. And I think when you look at the top of the Mountain West with New Mexico, UNLV, and Hawaii, I think the Lobos probably are going to rise to the top of that conference. But as far as the team that's going to get the auto bid, I don't think it's going to be Boise State. I really don't, because I don't think Boise's going to win this league. And if Boise does, it's going to get a hell of a run from Fresno State. So somebody asked me last night, we were at Circus signing up for the football contest. And he said, who would you bet to win the college football playoff right now? I said, I don't know, because, last year I did like Notre Dame quite a bit. I did like Indiana. But right now I don't see a longer shot. Once you get past the top 7 or 8 teams, I would bet where I see odds value. A year ago at this time, Phil Steele had Indiana ranked number 20. It's very rare where you're going to have a long shot like that win the college football playoff. As far as who are going to be the Cinderella teams in the playoff, I'm not really sure. But I think JVT wrote up the Mountain West. I think there's a lot to like about that New Mexico team.
Mm-hmm. There is. Stormy leading the witness. She wanted you to answer New Mexico.
I love that. Don't go chalk for the G6.
She's got them 20-1, and we have a show bet between the two of us when it comes to New Mexico in the playoff.
Great analysis.
Matt,
Great analysis.
Yeah, it's aptly priced because they're 21 to make the playoff. So if they make the playoff, I will buy her dinner at Barry's, and if they don't make the playoff, then I get McDonald's or something. So that is the way that we're doing this. Matt, we have our last 90 seconds with you here, really quickly. Let's go to the Big Ten because this is one of your best bets in the guide. I'm not really as high on Michigan, and do you expect the same thing here for the Wolverines?
By the way, I ate at McDonald's yesterday for the first time in 15 days. I can't believe I went 2 weeks without going to McDonald's. Yeah, believe it or not. Anyway, I was down on Michigan last year. I didn't like the quarterback play. Bryce Underwood was not getting coached very well by that staff, and obviously that coaching staff completely fell apart and was exposed as fraudulent, and now Kyle Whittingham takes over. And I think that is a home run hire for Michigan, even though Whittingham has lost a little bit off his fastball. The Big Ten's loaded this season. Ohio State, Oregon, Indiana. Wolverines are going to lose ground. I think if you look at their schedule, I don't know how you can find 9 wins on that schedule for this Michigan team. And they're going to be playing the Buckeyes and the Ducks on the road. They're going to host Indiana, Iowa, Penn State, and Oklahoma. Again, I like the Whittingham hire, but he's got a lot of work to do with Bryce Underwood at quarterback. And I think this Michigan team's probably going to do something like 7-5 this season.
Yeah,
so you can play under 8.5 wins. The price is a little high, under 8.5 at -160, but I think that's a good bet.
Yeah, really, really challenging schedule. Matt, thank you so much for the time. We appreciate it. And get more 15 days, man. You can't go that long. You just can't do it.
No, well, if you go to McDonald's, you got to get the value meal too. You can get the double burger, the chicken, and the fries and the drink for $6. Do you know that?
Nailed it.
I do now.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Man, this show is cruising. Can't believe it. Last segment of the day already. He's Jonathan Von Tobel. I'm Stormy
Because I did all the work
Bonatoni.
already today.
Learned so much from Matt Humans, not only about college football, but the McDonald's play ultimately to get. Do you have a go-to order at Mickey D's yourself? You have to. Everybody does. So don't question it like that.
I mean, I guess. I mean, it's pretty basic. Well, actually, it depends. Breakfast or like lunch/dinner.
I love that there are options. Let's go both. I'm very curious
Well,
now.
breakfast, I mean, I don't think this is a question, right? McDonald's has the greatest breakfast
McGriddle?
sandwich, ever created,
But
which is the McGriddle
Do you
sausage.
jazz it up, though? Do you just go sausage or do you do the egg and cheese?
Yeah, sausage, egg, and cheese. It's the greatest breakfast sandwich ever created.
I think that I think just the sausage is like dynamite.
Yeah, no, it's great. But like that's the greatest breakfast sandwich ever created. So, shut your mouth if you think otherwise.
Yeah, if you haven't had a syrup pocket,
Yeah.
you haven't lived.
It does remind me of the waffles when they used to sell those, if you remember those, Eggo. They would have the waffles that were frozen, and inside the waffle was a pocket of syrup, whether it was maple, strawberry, blueberry. That's why America is the greatest country on the planet. We have these things. And then I'm just like, I'm a QP with cheese and spicy McChicken.
I went through a big phase of the 2 cheeseburger meal. Like, I really liked that.
Why? Just get a double burger.
No,
No, that's ridiculous.
But then I would be getting 2 double burgers because it lasts longer. I needed the 2
get
burgers.
like a double QP.
No, I'm not a quarter pounder person.
Which,
I'm very specific on the.
how much of the bun does the weight? Because wouldn't that just be a half pound?
I thought it was specifically the meat poundage.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So isn't a double QP just a HP?
I guess technically, yeah.
So I have a question for our audience. So Stormy, to her credit, has been adamant about going to dinner tonight for Barry's about this bet. I gave you an out because
I pay off my bets.
I have a local shift today, and I forgot we had made the reservation for 5:30. I'm on the air from 3 to 6 tonight locally, and so I said, you could just like reschedule down the road, whatever, or you can move it to 6:30 if you want, but I don't mind. And you rescheduled it for 6:30, so I can hustle down here and get my dinner. My question is again, do I actually go onions to the wall with what I'm going to order today?
You can take me to the woodshed, but just know,
I've seen your backyard, so I might do that.
just know that when I inevitably get you back, I will do the same. So just keep that in mind.
I think did I see Steph just walk in? Boss Steph. Steph, you want to come to dinner tonight? Barry's.
We have a 4th seat open.
Yeah, we have a 4th seat open. So if you want to come, reservations for 6:30, and you can witness me. I don't know. I'm too nice. Generally, you
You're
can say
too
all
nice. Words that have never been spoken.
You
about
say everything you want about me. I'm actually quite nice, and I know that the only thing I'm going to get is the Chilean sea bass and some Brussels
I told
sprouts.
you there is not a limit. Get your steak. Get the sides you want. Get some cocktails. I'm fine with that.
I'm telling you, I'm definitely going to get these Brussels sprouts, though.
The Brussels sprouts are fire.
They slap. The other thing I would like to ask our audience is, how far ahead of time do you have to know about a bachelor party? So I've run into this thing over the weekend.
This will be good. And everybody chime in so you can talk about this tomorrow.
Yeah.
Get the answers.
Yeah, just
back.
found out you're not here tomorrow. Must be nice.
It's college football. I got my college football seminar for ESPN over the next couple days. So I'm gearing up. This is for you guys. I'm gearing up for you to be dialed for college football season.
So I have a buddy who is going to be married in October. His bachelor party is going to be the beginning portion of October. And I've known about the potential date for this bachelor party for a while and what the plans potentially are. I've helped plan to an extent what this bachelor party is. But my question stems from how far ahead, if you are invited to said bachelor party, should you be known about when it is and the plan? Because apparently he just sprang it on everybody in the group chat that was sent out over the weekend. And so a lot of people were not expecting, 1, to be invited, 2, what the plans were, and 3, what the cost was. To the point where somebody's already declined, I can't do that. I'm not doing that.
You have to do a date survey. You don't just say, these are the dates, this is where we're going, this is what it's going to cost, first and foremost.
Yeah.
You have to survey your friends in the group chat and give a couple date options. That's problem numero uno. That's what you do as a friend. Also, why is he taking care of this for himself? Shouldn't his best man be handling all of that? Shouldn't he have done the legwork beforehand, not even included the groom in this and said, hey guys, what dates work for you?
I think the groom was like a very ancillary party to the planning and whatnot. I mean, he wanted to do what he wanted to do, but it was sent out by his best man.
This is best manzilla then, thinking everything's about him and needs to be on his time.
I mean, from what I understand, I think the best man is not as tight with a good chunk of the group. So
wow,
it's his brother. No, it's his brother. I mean, so whatever it is.
No, yeah, you have to do a date survey.
Okay,
that's like I don't understand how you can just say.
I was told already, so I don't care.
And you should ask, what price range? Sorry, you should be asking, hey, this is what I'm thinking, but is this an okay price range for everybody?
Just going to say, fair warning, we have potentially a Sunday show on October 4th. I won't be at my best. Just going to tell you that right now.
Right. Do I need to mark? I'll mark that in my calendar early, just so that I know and I'm prepared.
By the way, the Cubs have acquired the Angels pitcher, but it's not Reed Detmers. Ryan Zefferson is the trade, according to Jeff Passan. He will head out to Chicago. So maybe some mix-up in the name that was involved. There was a report earlier today that the Cubs had acquired Reed Detmers, but that is not the case. It is Ryan Zefferson who's on his way out there to Chicago. So just a clarity on the report that was a little bit earlier today.
Detmers still a trade piece in the next couple hours?
He's got to be. I would assume that in the next 2 hours he has to be shipped off.
Okay.
Other breaking news. The Angels are still giving away the Joe Adele bobbleheads later this season.
Last couple minutes here, and this is something that when I come back later on this week, we could probably get
it. You're off.
A little bit more in detail. But as we close things out in the show, usually we do our best bets for the day. But with the College Football Betting Guide officially out today, we can do our best bets, at least so far, that we have in pocket for college football. Why don't you kick us off here? What do you have?
No, I'm not happy. So I'll start with the one.
What do you mean you're not happy?
Well, this one is not aged very well. I've been very high on Hawaii to win the Mountain West, and I think it's certainly plausible that they can still do that. But bad news over the last few days. Wide receiver Pofele Ashlock is done for the season. Knee injury that is going to keep him out for the year. It's a really big blow for an offense that should still be very good. And I'm going to say this because I've heard a lot about this. This was told to me yesterday, and then I saw an analyst bring this up the other day too. It was phrased as Micah Alejado has not proved that he can stay healthy. Micah Alejado has played 1 year. So, are we allowed to phrase it as he has not proved?
And he had a bad injury week 1.
Yeah. So, and he played through it. He missed
Correct.
2 starts. It was Portland State and Sam Houston State, and then played the rest of the year.
And with him injured, they still had the best passing offense in the league.
So I feel like it's unfair to present it as such. But either way, big blow to my play on Hawaii to win the Mountain West at 6-1. Good value on the number, but not great in terms of what it's at. Again, these are all in the College Football Betting Guide here. Auburn over 6.5 wins. I'm in. One of my burning questions for the Tigers: can USF win the SEC? I don't know, but I know that Byron Brown's freaking awesome, and I think that this team has a lot of good production that is outside of Byron Brown going to help this team hit the ground running. And I stole your point, but made it better. The retention of DJ Durkin there to maintain a defense, which has been very, very good over the last few years, is awesome. I think Auburn over 6.5 wins is manageable. North Dakota State, I think we share the sentiment here. You stole this from me and made it worse. North Dakota State under 8.5 wins at plus 140. You stole this one as well. Air Force over 7.5 wins at plus 120. And then Gunnar Stockton, I'm surprised you didn't steal this one either, to win the Heisman Trophy at 20-1.
So I do have actually North Dakota State as an official play. None of those other ones, though.
I thought you liked the Air Force one.
I did, but I didn't end up making it official. Maybe it's something that I end up adding before we get to the season. But some of my favorites: Florida State under 6.5 and the all under 5.5 at plus 155. They face the toughest schedule by far in the ACC and a pair of SEC teams in non-con. I could very easily see this being another year where they lose early or checked out by October, and then it falls apart after that. Penn State, you know how high I am on the situation and the schedule this year, over 8.5 and a shot on them at plus 425 to make the college football playoff. Iowa, we're rolling again with the over 7.5 wins. This cashed for us last year. Iowa hasn't gone a full non-COVID season with fewer than 8 wins since 2014. I think they keep it going again this season. And yes, we have questions about the quarterback once again, but I had really high expectations for Mark Gronowski last year that he didn't live up to. So if we just get a similar level of quarterback play and that defense is good again, I feel good about it. You mentioned North Dakota State. I'm with you on the alt under 8.5. That way you get plus money instead of the 9.5 where it's juiced up to, I saw as high as minus 220. We brought this up with Matt Humans on the program. Loved his breakdown of the New Mexico Lobos and them being a contender in the Mountain West and potential what?
Okay, well, I just want to add for New Mexico really quickly. Would you consider adding them to win the Mountain West as well? Because there's obviously a reality that they win the Mountain West but don't make the CFP.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, I do think that is a look there. What was the price again? Plus 265-ish, I believe. But yeah, the 20-1, just the market differential between they and some of these other college football playoff G6 contenders did not make sense. That was over at BetMGM. And then lastly, Oregon to make the Big Ten title game. Looking at I told you already, I think they should be the favorite in the Big Ten, but looking at their schedule, they avoid Indiana altogether, who was their kryptonite last year. Road trips to USC and Ohio State will be challenging. They welcome Michigan and Washington to Autzen. My gut says they don't lose more than one of those games, though. Oregon has a combined 5 losses the last 3 years. They're the model of consistency. They get to the Big 12 title game. Again, you get them at an even money price.
I think you're missing. Are you missing a play?
Did I skip something? What did I skip?
Penn State to win the national championship.
Oh, get out of here with that. Thank goodness I have the next 2 days off. Have a great day, everybody.
You're going to see me tonight.
Enjoy the rest of your day and keep it locked right here. Follow the money coming up next. VSiN Primetime covering all things MLB trade deadline. It is a busy Monday here on the network.